because I truly believe that that song in your heart is yours alone to sing. It can only be sung in your unique voice, with your background, your experience, your stories, your heart. So this journey is worth it, to uncover that song and bring it out into the world in whatever way that means for you. But the world needs that. It needs the song that is yours alone to sing. We will never hear it. It will never resonate in our hearts if it doesn't come through in your voice, with your artistic voice, your unique sound. Welcome to Reawaken Your Voice. I'm Lainey Crawford, holistic voice coach, singer, song weaver. I believe the song in your heart holds medicine for yourself and for the world. And yet too often, something happens along the way. We shut down our voice and our song goes unsung. Whether you stopped singing years ago or have always harbored an unrealized dream to start, if you're ready to finally give voice to those unsung songs in your heart, then take my hand as I guide you to free yourself from the inner critic, reignite your creativity, find your courage, sing with confidence, and reawaken those dormant parts of yourself aching for a revival. So dust off your songbooks, tune up your guitar, bust out your singing bowls, your shakers, your drum. Actually, all you really need is your voice, your breath, open ears, and an open heart. Let's play. What does it really take to find your artistic voice, your unique sound, your style? Well, in today's episode, I want to kind of walk you through this process that I have seen emerge as I look back on each time I sought my true, authentic, artistic voice, whether it was in the context of songwriting, singing, speaking, creativity, artistic expression as a whole. I noticed there's a common thread that applies to finding your voice in each context. So what does it really take? You know, I've heard people say they fall into this comparison trap, or they've tried, finding artists they like and singing like them, but that only works to a certain extent. And you find yourself just judging your sound whenever you hear your own voice. But amidst all of that, it's like, well, how do I find my unique sound, my artistic voice, like the expression of my essence that is individual and unique to me? So I've pulled out 3 things that you really need. And, I'll also give you some tacticals at the end about how to implement these 3 things and how to apply them in your practice. And as I said, looking back on each time I sought and uncovered my artistic voice, in each context, there was a common thread. I learned this when honing my voice as an opera singer, and then again when writing my own music and singing in my own style. First applying what I had learned in my classical training, but then also shedding pieces of it, shedding habits and ways of applying my voice and ways of using my voice that didn't actually serve my current needs. So as I moved deeper into my career as a professional musician, I learned this process again throughout many years of teaching voice. First teaching what I was taught and how I was taught, but then finding my own way, my own ideas, learning how to convey them in my own voice, and, really figuring out who I was as a teacher as I went deeper into who I was as an artist and who I am as an artist. And now I find myself going through this process again as I learn even more about my voice as a teacher, as an artist, and as a speaker, as I do this podcast. So this common thread throughout all of these applications and all of these experiences comes down to these three things. Number one, trial and error. Now, before you check out and say, that's so boring and oversimplified, okay, just hear me out. There's actually a lot to it. This is part of the process. There's no getting around it, only through it. Trial and error. You have to try things and be okay with failing. Coming into your voice is almost like a coming of age story where you'll have these awkward phases and you'll find yourself dating people you would never actually want to end up with or who are totally wrong for you, but it's part of the journey. You don't necessarily know that it's not right for you at the time. You're trying things and seeing how it feels. It's like trying something on to see if it fits. In a way, kind of like playing dress up as a little girl. Imitation as a form of play. But it's a tool. It's not where you stay. So in terms of singing styles, you're trying something on, you're playing with it in your voice to see how it feels. And maybe you're imitating an artist that you really love, and there's something about their music that just speaks to you. So you imitate to kind of find it in your own voice and feel where it sits in your own voice. But then, of course, you use it as a tool. So you don't stay in that place of imitation. You move through it as a way to go deeper into your own sound. So, yeah, this part may surprise you that imitation may be part of the process. Since we're meant to find our own unique voice, it may be surprising to think, wait, so I'm supposed to imitate to find my voice? Well, this can be a big part of trying things and seeing how it feels. Of course, we don't want to become an echo. We want to shine brightly as our own unique light, as we were designed to be. But as I said, it's a tool. It's a means to an end. So we imitate different sounds to see how it feels in our voice. And, we play with different things. Try it on, see how it feels. Try some smooth transitions from one part of the voice to another. Try some hard breaks. Listen for those stylizing vocal runs in certain styles of music, or things you hear other people doing with their voices. Try it and see what it's like in your voice. Try different textures, breathy versus clear, or dark versus light. Your voice is so versatile. So experiment to see
what all it can do. Don't be afraid of trying and failing, of making silly sounds and trying some things that may seem so unlike you. This is how we figure out what is you, you know? Listen to different styles of music you like. Even some of those so-called guilty pleasures. And I feel like there's no guilt in that. Like, go where your ear takes you and play in that realm of what about it brings you pleasure? What pulls your ear in or pulls your heart in or makes you feel something, even if on the surface you're not supposed to like it, right? Find those idiosyncrasies that make it what it is and try to replicate it in your voice by ear. Just play and then make it your own. Create your own blend of things, your own juxtaposition of different styles and different elements in the voice of these styles. And as you do this trial and error process, what you're actually doing is you're honing in on not only your physical instrument and what it's capable of, but you're also honing in on number 2, which is tuning your inner voice. Yes, this is the second thing you need to really find your artistic voice as a singer. You need to tune that inner voice. It's like you're tuning a guitar, okay? Sometimes you have to go way out of tune to hear what it's definitely not, so you can find your way back to the true, pure pitch. And then you linger there. You stay there and you soak it into your bones so that you not only remember what it sounds like, but more importantly, you remember what it feels like. This is much like experimentation and wandering, to tune that inner voice. It's kind of like traveling the world to understand your place in it. You're seeking contrast. You're finding what you are not, and you're finding what you are. You're honing your own concept of home. Like, as you see the contrast, you think, well, what makes home unique? What makes my home unique? And what is home? And where is home? And, this is that home note, that home pitch, that tuning of your inner voice. What rings true to you? What makes home special? The parts you love and the parts of other homes that you appreciate and want to adopt and weave into your own. And it's this process of seeking resonance and dissonance and strengthening the recognition of each so you know what each one feels like. What are you really doing in this process of tuning your inner voice? Well, you're getting to know what you really believe, what you truly value. And in many ways, it's like a stripping away of everything that is not you. It goes back to that shedding. Sometimes you have to shed old ways of being or old habits of expression that you can't carry with you into the next phase. And you walk forward a little bit lighter and a little bit closer to the core of who you are. Peeling back those layers to reveal the core, kind of like the statue of David, going from this rock and slowly chipping away to find what art is revealed within. Number 3, the third thing that you need to find your artistic voice as a singer is you need boldness. Bold expression. The boldness to align with that inner voice and then express it through the physical instrument itself. So what does this boldness really mean? Well, it's a willingness to offend people, especially as a songwriter, as you write your lyrics and tell your stories and express your emotions and convey them in a way that only you can, using the words that you have chosen. You have to be willing to not please everyone, and you have to be okay with upsetting people and not being liked. It's kind of like spices when cooking. Certain spices aren't for everyone, but there's a distinct flavor that is definitely for some. And you want to lean into that spice because otherwise it's going to be really bland. Okay, you can blend it into anything you want, but where is the flavor there, So you have to allow those strongly held beliefs to shine, and you have to have the boldness to stand firmly in them. This boldness also requires that you see a difference between filtering and censorship. So filtering, to me, I don't think there's anything wrong with putting your expression through a filter, as long as it's your own filter and not that of someone else. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing to filter. But when it comes to censorship, self-censorship, that's where we run into problems. That's a different thing altogether. There is a difference between intentionally choosing your words to paint the picture that you desire and censoring yourself out of fear that you may offend someone or hurt someone's feelings. So in this boldness, you finally stop pushing down what really wants to be said, and you allow that true ringing sound that is you to come through. So it goes from this pushed, forced, molded, manipulated sound to this true, authentic expression, allowing that to emerge. You really believe in what you're saying, and you trust your voice to express it with artistic freedom, artistic liberties. You know and love yourself for all of those flaws and imperfections. You know your shortcomings. You know all the parts of you that make you so human, and you love yourself anyways, and you know that even with these flaws and imperfections that come through in the voice, your voice still does not define you. You know that your music still does not define your self-worth, and your art still is only a piece of who you are. And when you feel that ring true in your heart, that's when you know you have the boldness to express yourself authentically. So, 3 things you need to find your artistic voice. Number 1, trial and error. Number 2, tuning your inner voice. And number 3, boldness. So how do you implement these 3? Well, there are 3 things that came to mind that are tactical that you can put into practice to kind of begin this process. And the process isn't like step 1, step 2, step 3. First you try things, and then you tune your inner voice, and then you are bold about it. It's like they kind of happen all at the same time, and you go back and forth between them all. It's a journey, of course, right? It's a journey and a process, and one that you can go through in different contexts multiple times. As you use your voice in different ways, you can go through this even deeper. So, how can you implement this? Well, first, you can do journaling, one of my favorite things. That's how you really connect with your inner voice and your values and beliefs. And you also can hear the inner critic coming through and get to know that voice. So it's that resonance versus dissonance that you're learning to discern between and finding where your alignment really is. But you have to learn how to disarm the inner censor. And journaling is a great tool for doing that. Second thing you can do, practice using your voice. Practice. It's part of that trial and error, but also honing in on your physical instrument and what feels good in your voice. So practice using your voice in different contexts, different styles, different venues, different forms of expression. Practice that until you find what feels like home. And then you keep doing that to lock it in and go ever deeper, because there's always more. That's the beauty of the vocal journey. There's always more. It's in motion. It's in movement. It's not a static thing that has a beginning and an end. It's this cyclical process, and that spiral goes deeper and deeper each time. The third thing you can do is you can play with cover songs. Play with songs in different styles across genres. And maybe at first it is imitation. You're playing with sounds and getting it into your voice, but then you're making them your own. So you're doing cover songs, but then you're as you bring it into your own voice, you start to see what makes your sound unique. You make it your own. What would it mean to sing that cover song in your authentic voice, with your style, with your artistic flair? Another exercise you can do is writing a song in the style of whatever, the style of that cover song that you had been playing with, or that artist that really speaks to you. It's a great creative exercise to pull out, like, well, what makes that style what it is? And bring that into your writing. But then, of course, you ask, well, what makes it unique? And as you do this, you'll see what comes through as your unique voice. What is your unique sound? And it's a process. It's a process. So no matter how you are applying this, whether it be your singing voice or your speaking voice, your teaching voice, your creative expression in different forms, your writer's voice, any kind of writing, of course, songwriting, this common thread carries you through. And you see this process is made up of trial and error. It's made up of tuning that inner voice. As you tune your physical instrument, as you really uncover your essence, who you are, what you believe, what you stand for, and how you want to express that. And then bringing that forward with boldness in a way that only you can. Because I truly believe that that song in your heart is yours alone to sing. It can only be sung in your unique voice, with your background, your experience, your stories, your heart. So this journey is worth it, to uncover that song and bring it out into the world in whatever way that means for you. But the world needs that. It needs the song that is yours alone to sing. We will never hear it. It will never resonate in our hearts if it doesn't come through in your voice, with your artistic voice, your unique sound.
Hey friend, thank you so much for listening. If this episode unlocked something in you or moved you in some way, I'd be so grateful if you'd leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're streaming this, and share this episode with a friend who's been praying for a vocal breakthrough. Until we meet again, keep nurturing that song in your heart. Lots of love.